just for the benefit of the recording, I'm just going to go back through what we're going to cover today. So we're going to cover the higher diploma in psychology. That's for transition into psychology and gain PSI accreditation. There's the requirements for that is a 2-1 or first class undergraduate degree. Anne-Marie Keane will lead us off on that one. At 20+1, we're going to cover the Masters in Health Psychology. That's if you want to specialize in health psychology, having already got a PSI, that's the Psychological Society of Ireland accredited degree. That will be done by Jerry Malloy. At 1:30, we're going to cover the Masters in Clinical Neuroscience. That's specializing in neuroscience, the science of the brain. And that's there's a focus on research there, but it's also a useful step towards clinical psychology. Now, for the clinical neuroscience course and for the latter two courses that we're going to cover, you don't need a degree in psychology, but you do need a degree in psychology or a relevant subject. Okay, and you need to perform well. That will be led by Lorena Holleran. Then at 1:40, Aoife McTiernan will take you through the Masters in Applied Behavior Analysis. This is for practitioners who wish to specialize in behavioral psychology and do behavior assessment and intervention. Again, you need a high performance in your psychology or a relevant subject degree. And then finally, I'll take us through the Masters in Consumer Psychology, which is designed to transition individuals with psychology degrees into industry or to specialize in consumer psychology. And for that, again, you're going to need a high performance in psychology or a relevant subject. Here are just a brief look through some of the common professions. I don't have time to go through these right now, but I'm going to make these slides available to you through the chat. So I'll give you these slides. This breaks down some common professions and the requirements for those professions, but you will hear those requirements as we go through the slides as the course directors take you through their programs. One thing to say before we move on is that scholarships valued at €1,500 are available for students who are doing full-time taught postgraduate courses at NUI Galway. These are for EU students, though there are other schemes available for non-EU students. You need to be accepted on a full-time course, and then you need a first-class honours. If you're interested in that, look out and apply in April 2021 for that. And I'm going to now to Anne-Marie Keane, who's going to take you through the HDIP in psychology, full and conversion.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning, everybody. My name is Anne-Marie Keane, and I'm going to take you through just in a short second now. We'll start with the higher diploma full program. So can everybody see those slides okay? Dennis, can you see the slides okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. The first higher diploma we're going to talk about is the higher diploma in psychology full program. And importantly, this is a 2-year full-time program, and it's designed for graduates who have already received a higher degree in a field other than psychology. So it might be education, it might be in science, it might be in engineering. And those people have always yearned or wished to pursue psychology as a career option. So by completing the HDIP Psychology Full at NUI Galway, you essentially cover the same course content. It's equivalent to the BA Psychology Honours Programme. And the Higher Diploma Psychology Full join second year, they join the third year of the programme, they don't take first year. But by doing so, they come out with the equivalent BA Psychology degree. You apply online, like all postgraduate programmes, via CRM Recruit, and this is through the NUI Galway Postgraduate Applications portal. Now, very importantly, this programme has a rolling rounds of offers system, so the quicker you apply, the better the chance you have of actually gaining a place on the programme. Now, very importantly, we have only 8 places on the programme, so competition is very, very high indeed. And in my experience in the past, successful candidates have tended to have at least an upper 2-1 in their primary degree. Now, very importantly, as Dennis was mentioning earlier, this programme is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland. This is our national professional society, which essentially quality controls the programmes we offer within the school. And this programme satisfies requirements for graduate status in psychology. So this essentially means that you can gain entree, as it were, to other postgraduate professional programmes, masters and PhDs in Ireland and the UK, some of which we'll be speaking about this morning. So in terms of the first year of the Higher Diploma Full, the focus is very much on the core areas of psychology. I'd like to call it the building blocks of psychology. So what has psychology offered us in terms of theory and research, in terms of understanding all of these core areas, how we develop socially and emotionally across the lifespan, how we behave in groups, how we think, how we engage in learning and memory, and so on and so forth. These are what we call the building blocks, the underpinnings, the core foundations of the psychology programme and, of course, of the profession. We're also gently training you up in this initial phase in the first year into being a researcher in psychology. So we give you exposure to quantitative and qualitative research methods in psychology. And we also allow you to participate and report on smaller studies which give you training in scientific writing in the domain of psychology. Moving on to the second year, the course content is very much focused in the second year HDIP Full on the applied areas of psychology. So in this domain, we're taking the theory and research of all of these areas and really applying that knowledge to solve real life problems. This could be in the health area, in ABA, forensic, clinical psychology. We're also continuing to further train you up as a very good researcher, and we're giving you the tools to engage in that, building on the basic research methods that you learned in the first year, advancing that knowledge, and providing you with computer skills to allow you to actually manage and analyse data of your own. And I suppose where all that comes together in the second year is that you get the opportunity to actually carry out a piece of independent research under the supervision of a member of staff. And this is worth a quarter of the final year. And very nicely, you have a choice of several elective modules you can take in that final year. And these are delivered by my colleagues who have a very good specialist knowledge in the area. And these areas tend to be very much applied. So finally, just to come to what are the future opportunities after you do the higher two-year diploma programme. Very importantly, most students tend to go two particular routes. First of all, they might choose to go the professional route. And this very much involves going on to do a specialist master's or indeed a PhD programme in these respective areas. Now, some of these are easier to access than others. For example, occupational counselling, forensic and health can often be straight after the degree. But very importantly, the educational clinical psychology route can take a little bit longer, as Dennis was highlighting in his introduction. And finally, very often students get bitten by research. They really like it and they want to go on and do a research degree in psychology. So very often they go on to do a master's in psychology or indeed under the supervision of a member of staff, undertake a novel piece of research, a PhD in the psychology, and apply for the respective fundings with their supervisor in that area. So very importantly, that just completes what I had to say about the two-year higher diploma. And very importantly now, I'll go on to actually sharing the slides around the one-year higher diploma conversion. Okay, so can everybody see the slides okay? Yeah. So this is the one-year higher diploma conversion, distinctly different from the higher diploma full. The higher diploma full was designed for people with no background in psychology. This is often described as the top-up conversion program. And essentially what students get on this one-year full-time program is they get those additional bits they missed as a result of the fact that they didn't do an accredited complete psychology undergraduate program. So our one-year higher diploma conversion is really designed for students who've completed the BA in Psychological Studies at NUI Galway. And as we've highlighted there in the previous slides in terms of the HDIP full, that degree has tended to focus on the core and applied areas of psychology, but not actually too much on training people up as researchers. Now, other students are welcome to apply for this programme, but of course, whatever undergraduate degree they have done previously has to streamline, as it were, with our HDIP conversion to allow students to achieve a fully accredited degree. So once again, you apply online via our CRM Recruit. We have 16 places on the programme. So competition here is very, very high indeed. And in my experience in recent years, students really need to have a high 2-1 to a first-class honour in psychological studies in their degree, but very importantly, must also achieve a 2-2, at least a second-class honour in their other subject. So essentially, by combining the HDIP Psych conversion with their BA Psychological Studies programme, the students then are covering course content equivalent to the BA Psychology Honours programme. So they're coming out with an accredited higher diploma conversion programme, but also, of course, very importantly, those who have done psych studies have the bonus of having a second subject. Now, once again, this programme is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland, and this allows graduates from it to enter postgraduate professional programmes, master's, PhD programmes in Ireland and the UK. It's a year-long programme, and essentially the bit that's missing is we haven't trained our students fully up as researchers. The emphasis on this one-year programme is really training students up into being able to conduct research. So we build on the basic research methods achieved in their undergraduate degree, advancing their quantitative and qualitative research method skills in this area. And we're also empowering them with computer skills training to allow them once again to manage and analyse their data sets. They get exposure to experimental psychology also, which allows them to participate and to report on many little research studies that they've either done in the classroom or the lab or online. And really here we're training students to be able to scientifically write in psychology. And I suppose the pièce de résistance is the research project in psychology, bringing all of these skills together. This is a quarter of the programme overall in the year, allowing students to conduct, design and carry out their own independent piece of research under supervision of a member of staff and write that up as a journal article. We continue to strengthen the core areas of psychology in this programme, giving students the opportunity to take the modules in the psychology of learning, perception, attention and performance. And also we're about trying to train up our students to be able to cope with the real world. So for example, a module like professional skills in psychology is training students up in team actions, working together with people in a team, which we all do in the real world. And very importantly, skills, which is really empowering them with non-technical skills. We call them graduate attributes that will help them survive into their long-term career in the field of psychology. And last but not least, they get to choose one elective module in that final year. So finally, once again, students are coming out with the top-up higher diploma conversion with an accredited degree overall, the equivalent of the BA Psychology Honours. And the two routes that students tend to go is the professional psychology route, where they go on to specialise by doing a master's or a PhD in these respective areas. It could be occupational, counselling, forensic, and so on. Likewise, they might get bitten by the endeavour of doing research and really like it and decide they want to go on and specialise in the master's in research methods and go on to carry out a PhD in a novel area of research under the supervision of one of my colleagues within the school. And of course, there's great opportunities for funding in those domains as well. So if anybody has any questions, I'm very, very happy to take any as we go here.
So, Anne-Marie, what we might do now is there are a few questions that came through in the chat. So maybe you could answer those in the chat, and I'll just run. I'll run the health psychology introduction by Jerry Malloy. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Dennis.
No problem at all. So right. Okay, so I'm just going to switch to the desktop.
Sorry, Dennis, just to say there, the volume from the presentation isn't coming through there for Jerry. So when you press share, you actually have to select share computer audio.
Right.
So if you want to reshare that, you'll have an option for sharing the computer audio so that that volume comes through.
I'm not getting that option. Right. Okay, what we'll do, would you mind, Lorena, if you do the would you mind taking over and doing your presentation on clinical neuroscience? Sure. And then I'll load up Jerry in the background.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, can you all see my presentation there?
Yep.
Okay, great. So thanks everyone for joining on today's virtual session. So I'm the course coordinator for the MSc in Clinical Neuroscience, and I'll just tell you a little bit about the course and give you an overview, and also we'll hear a testimonial from one of our previous graduates. So the MSc in Clinical Neuroscience is a multidisciplinary course, and by that I mean that it's taught across multiple different colleges in NUIG. So we have the College of Arts, obviously through psychology, and we have College of Science and College of Medicine. So generally the different career pathways from this MSc tend to maybe stay in academics, so continue on with research, whether it's in NUIG or whether it's across international third level institutes. Also, some of our students plan on going on to do clinical psychology, and some plan on going into medicine to kind of mental background in neuroscience relative to psychiatry, and many more different type of career paths, like people working in voluntary industries like Jigsaw. So to get into the course, students must have a 2-1 or higher in psychology or a science-related degree. So by science-related degree, we have many of our students coming from, say, biomedical science, anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, and they're more interested in the neuroscience, so they go on to do this master's so they can get an introduction into the psychology of neuroscience, but also apply their science background as well. So in semester 1, we really covered the theory and the foundations of neuroscience across multiple different modules. So we have modules like neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, and neuropharmacology. So for each of these, would be a lab component as well. So you can see here, there's I have some diagrams there of some of the lab review work that you'd be doing, say, for neuroanatomy, and also for physiology, where you look at somatosensory, so how the brain processes sensory information from our environment. And also we cover things like genetics, and then we apply all of those foundational modules into the clinical and experimental cognitive neuroscience module, which is a core module in semester 1 for the course. So having learned all those kind of the theory and the foundations of neuroscience, semester 2 is more about the application of those modules and that information. So we have a research methods module that covers multiple different research techniques in neuroscience. So things like EEG, neuroimaging, statistical modeling. So we cover each one of those on a continuous basis throughout semester 2. So it's really kind of helping you to build up your information for the research project that you'll do during semester 3. So also in semester 2, we have a clinical neuroimaging and radiological anatomy module. So really, for that module, you'll learn a lot about neuroimaging techniques. So different techniques like functional MRI, how the brain connects and how the connections between different areas in the brain underlie the specific biological mechanisms and cognitive processes. And then we have diffusion MRI that looks more at white matter, so the pathways that connect different cortical regions in the brain. And then we'll learn about the processing, how that imaging data is processed and analysed, and how we can include cognitive and environmental variables into that analysis, so it makes it biologically relevant. So the data that we're interpreting is biologically relevant. And then for the third module in semester 2, we have neuropsychiatry. So that's really the clinical applied module on the course. So that's taught by clinicians from the Department of Psychiatry, but also from neurology. So for that module, you learn a lot about different clinical cases, specific clinical disorders, whether they're neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or psychiatric disorders like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. So that's a very clinically applied module where there would be some interaction with specific case studies and case presentations. So then for semester 3, you carry out an independent research project that's supervised by one of the PIs, so principal investigator from within the Galway Neuroscience Centre. So I've included the website address there for the Galway Neuroscience Centres to give you an idea of the different research areas. So there's a lot of our researchers work in stroke or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease, different cognitive and neurodevelopmental disorders and psychiatric disorders as well. So there's a wide range and variety of projects available for semester 3. So it's a 12-week project that requires a written dissertation for submission and a scientific poster. So you get the opportunity to present a scientific poster, which could also be used for submission to, say, Neuroscience Ireland conference. So the different career opportunities and future opportunities from the course. Like I said, a lot of the students go on to PhD. So a good few of our students have gone on to work with PIs from within Galway Neuroscience to pursue a PhD in, say, neuroimaging or medical genomics. Some have gone on to international universities like Columbia University in New York and gone on then to do PhDs right around at various different international institutes. Then some of our students plan to go on and do clinical psychology, so then they would go on to do the assistant psychology program. Some then work in mental health research, whether that's through voluntary services like Jigsaw and work in the research side of Jigsaw, or they work in, say, clinical research facilities like we have here at UHG. So lastly, I'll just play just a 1-minute presentation here by our graduate student Megan Cowman, who graduated in 2019. And Megan then went on to work as an RA in our cognitive genomics group in the School of Psychology, and she's now starting a PhD with Professor Gary Donoghue, and she's going to be working on developing interventions for first episode psychosis. So just briefly hear from Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan. I completed the MSc in Clinical Neuroscience in 2019. What initially attracted me to the course was the range of opportunities that it offers. So coming from a psychology background myself, I was interested in broadening my knowledge of neuroscience. And I was able to do this through modules like neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, and pharmacology. I think that's one of the best things about the course is that you can build your optional modules. So depending on your academic background, you can choose from a variety of modules to suit your interests, from neuropsychiatry and mental health to medical genomics. My favourite part of the course was the research project. Again, there's lots of different research topics and supervisors to choose from. and you can really focus on your particular interests. So for example, my supervisors were from psychiatry, so my research project had a bit of a clinical focus, but other students in the class worked with supervisors from neuroimaging, genetics, and neurology. The MSc is really multidisciplinary in nature, so there's opportunities to gain knowledge and experience in lots of different areas. And I think this puts you in a really good position going forward and can really open doors in terms of future prospects. I found this in my own experience, and since finishing the course, I've been working as a research assistant in the School of Psychology, and I'm starting a PhD next year. I think what I've learned and the skills I've gained through the course have really prepared me and put me in a competitive position for both of these opportunities.
Okay, so I can follow up with any questions you might have as the presentations are continuing, and I'm happy to address them there in the chat if anyone has questions. So Dennis, if you're ready now with the presentation.
Great, I'll go to just try this again and see how it works. Present. Okay. Is that working there? Can you hear that?
No.
No.
So in the share option, when you
no, I know I looked it up on the internet.
okay.
I don't have that button so I had to change some of my settings.
Perhaps you could just share it like you did the slides.
Yeah, I did actually. I shared it in the chat. I'm just having I'll try sharing my screen just to give it one last shot, and then we'll try that. So here we go. Sharing is paused, and then we will share the desktop and try running this. Any sound?
No.
No sound. That's so annoying. Actually, so I think what we'll do now, we heard the sound coming from your machine there, Lorena. Would you mind maybe downloading that health psychology video onto your computer, and we might come back to you to see if we can run it from your computer?
Sure.
That's great. Thanks very much, Lorena.
Can you send me the link, and yeah.
I will. I'll just I'll put it down there for you again. So Aoife, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Lovely. So Aoife McTiernan will now take you through the Masters in ABA.
Okay, so my slides should be sharing now. So maybe just if you can't see them, somebody might turn on their mic and let me know. So I'm Aoife McTiernan, and I'm the acting director for the Masters in Applied Behaviour Analysis. So just first of all, what is behaviour analysis? As behaviour analysts, we're interested in how our environment and the people around us influence our behaviour, and how our history of interactions with that environment and with people can predict our future behaviour. And the reason we do that is to improve our understanding of individuals' behaviour, and also to develop behaviour change interventions. And, you know, an example of behaviour change interventions that we might design would be adapting or changing an individual's environment to improve their quality of life. Or we might teach valuable skills in order to help an individual navigate their environment a little bit better. So because behaviour occurs in most environments, the applications of ABA, or applied behaviour analysis, are quite diverse. The most well-known application of ABA is early intensive behavioural intervention for children with autism, and also positive behaviour support for adults and children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But we also have quite a few applications in general education. So, for example, teaching very valuable preschool life skills, school-wide positive behaviour support and classroom behaviour management. And we also have precision teaching, which is a teaching approach to effectively teach academic skills like reading, writing and math. Other areas that have stemmed from behaviour analysis are acceptance commitment therapy, applications with older adults, contingency management for substance misuse, and also we have a lot of expertise in our school on behavioural interventions for sleep and feeding difficulties. So our programme, our Masters in ABA, is one of only 2 Masters in ABA in the Republic of Ireland. And in 2018, the course was shortlisted for Postgraduate Course of the Year in Arts and Humanities. It's a 2-year course with modules that cover a range of topics like behaviour assessment and intervention, research methods, different applications of ABA and professional skills. And a really good part of this course is that students are provided the opportunity to take clinical placements in disability services or schools and different placement settings in the community. And that really allows them to accrue experience and to apply what they're learning in class under the supervision of a board certified behaviour analyst. There's also an option to transfer to the MSc International, which allows you to add a year to the course and go abroad to the US and accrue those experience hours abroad. So the students that, Dennis has talked about this a little bit already, the students who begin with us generally have a 2-1 or higher degree in psychology or a related undergraduate degree like childhood development or psychology with another subject or teaching, etc. And afterwards, our students have obtained their professional certification with the Behaviour Analyst Certification Board, and they've become board certified behaviour analysts. But this is actually currently transitioning so that our graduates will soon be certified more locally through an Irish credentialing body, hopefully. And then our students can progress into related fields like clinical or educational psychology and many. Some students progress into academia and research, and we also have a structured PhD programme in applied behaviour analysis in the school. But the majority of our students do become practitioners after they graduate. And our graduates predominantly work in disability services, implementing positive behaviour support, or they work in early intervention or in schools within the Department of Education. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer any questions as a follow-up if you want to contact me on this address, or you can follow us at ABA NUIG on Twitter. And again, if you've got questions, you can put them into the chat as well, and I'm more than happy to speak with you. I'll try to unshare my slides now.
Thanks very much, Aoife. That was very useful. Lorena, how are we doing with that video? Do you think we can
I'll
run
share
it?
it now.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, just.
Hello, my name is Dr. Charlie Boy, and I'm the Programme Director of the MSc in Health Psychology. The MSc in Health Psychology is the only accredited Masters in Health Psychology in Ireland. This Masters programme was initially set up in 1994 and is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland. Health psychology has a strong basis as an area of psychological science. Specifically, it focuses on the study of psychological and behavioural processes in health, illness and healthcare, and it involves the integration of knowledge from biological, psychological and social sciences to understand and explain health and illness. It is emerging in Ireland and other contexts as a profession, Some of the professional applications of health psychology involve prevention and treatment of illness, management of disability, identification of health risk factors, improvement of the healthcare system, and shaping of public opinion and health policy. We have clearly seen the role of health psychology in the shaping of public opinion and health policy in 2020. Professor Molly Byrne, who is a key member of our team, has served on an advisory group to the National Public Health Emergency Team in Ireland, where she advised this team on the relevant theory and evidence from behavioural science. Molly has also communicated about this in the national media, where she has helped shape public opinion on the role of behaviour in public health. The increasing recognition of behaviour in understanding public health can be seen in this quote from Micheál Martin, our current Taoiseach, who said in an interview in September that the psychology of a pandemic is as important as the physical presence of the virus. This encapsulates the key idea that underpins our course, and this is that psychology is a key component for understanding public health, experience of illness, and healthcare. So who is this course for? The MSc in Health Psychology is a one-year full-time or two-year part-time program of academic study in the discipline of health psychology for those with an accredited psychology undergraduate degree. For example, the Psychological Society of Ireland or the British Psychological Society. We also consider qualifications that are equivalent to these accredited degrees. Applications for the course are made on the online system via the NUI Galway Postgraduate application system. In recent years, candidates who have been offered a place on the programme have had at least an upper second class honours primary degree in psychology, i.e. a 2-1. If you meet these criteria, then applying early is the best approach to secure a place. The course has a strong focus on health promotion and behaviour change, with a dedicated module on this topic. There is also consideration of multiple perspectives on health, beyond a purely psychological perspective, where we consider other social sciences and more macro level approaches to health, psychological and economic perspectives. We also consider global approaches to health psychology. A major component of the course is dedicated to developing research skills in the 2 dedicated modules and the dissertation. And in credits, this represents 1/3 of the course, i.e. 30 out of the 90 credits available for the course are devoted towards the research dissertation. In the second semester, there is an emphasis on psychological processes in healthcare, such as coping with chronic illness. There is also a dedicated module on biobehavioral processes, and this would include material on stress-related psychobiological processes, where you learn about how the psychosocial environment gets under the skin and impacts on health and illness. Recent graduates have gone directly into research posts, both here in NUI Galway and other research settings. Some of our graduates have gone on to pursue PhD training, with many of these winning competitive PhD scholarships. A smaller number have pursued clinical psychology training, and our MSc is widely recognised as providing an excellent foundation for the research component of a clinical psychology doctorate. Recently, we have also had graduates go on to work in industry settings, and in particular settings where digital health is used to support health-relevant behaviour change. If you want to find out more, I would encourage you to follow us on social media at these addresses. We are involved in multiple programmes of research, and many of our team are recognised as international leaders in their areas of research and practice. You could also check out the NUI Galway Health Psychology blog, which includes stories from recent graduates of our programme. Thanks for listening, and feel free to get in touch with myself, Dr. Jerry Malloy, or Deputy Director, Dr. Jenny McSharry, to find out more.
Thanks very much, Lorena. That's really useful. For those of you who are interested in health psychology, there's a clickable link in the intro slides that you can click under Jerry's name if you want to send emails directly to Jerry about that. And if there's anything that we here as course directors know about the program, we'll try and answer those questions for you as well. So the final program that we're going to talk about today is the MSc in Consumer Psychology. So can everybody see those slides?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so the MSc in Consumer Psychology is a new program. So our first intake will be in September 2021. And so we're really excited about this program, and it's focusing on consumer psychology. And so what is consumer psychology? Well, if you reduce it to its kind of core idea, the question gets to, why do we buy? And so consumer psychology is the study of how it is we relate to the transaction of goods and services we use every day, whether this is as a retail consumer, if you're buying something in a shop, whether as a buyer of services. We have many industries in Galway who do what's called B2B, business to business purchasing. So if you're procuring services from another business, or as service users. So all of us, we take advantage of health services and other services from government agencies. And so consumer psychology is much broader than the retail consumer, and really considers any situation where you're going to give resources to get something back for yourself. And so this would be whether you're providing attention on Twitter, or whether and because they are going to monetize that into showing you ads that you might like. And so consumer psychology is very broad and is very much interested in human decision making when it comes to dealing with goods and services. So how do we generate consumer insights or customer insights? Well, customer insights are derived from the combination of two things, data and theory. Data tells us what our customers are doing right now, and theory tells us why they might be doing this. Unfortunately, in industry at the moment, one, and not enough of two. That is, we are drowning in data. The haystack, as I like to say, the haystack gets bigger, and it makes it harder to find those needles. And so as we collect more and more data, it can become harder and harder to find to try and make sense of those data. Good theory helps us make sure we collect the right data, and also know what those data mean when we collect them. So here's an outline of the program, and you'll notice that we have a number of modules which are theory focused, looking at consumer psychology and understanding human decision making. We then move into more general consumption issues, looking at customers from different cultures and contexts. So, for example, you might want to sell to China or to America. You might want to sell to. You might want to consider consumers, buyers in business, and these are different contexts in which of consumption. We're also very interested in sustainability. So how can you develop a strategy for generating consumption that's environmentally sustainable, but also community sustainable? How are you perceived by your community? And that's really important for ongoing health of your business and economic sustainability. We train people in detail in how to measure consumer behavior and engagement. And we have a work-based project in which you work on a project for a specific company. We also, in addition to the psychology component that we provide, we also have other contributors, and these include the Irish Centre for High Performance Computing, or ICHEC, and they deliver our training in data analysis through OR. And so this is a highly sought after skill in the workplace. OR is a computer statistics package that analyzes data, and it's continually updated. It's a very useful way of developing beautiful data visualizations and performing high quality statistical analyses. We have design thinking, which looks at how it is we design products and services. In fact, I engaged in design thinking when working on this master's in consumer psychology. Tools and insights from industry. We bring in industry leaders who talk about the tools they use in their everyday job, so that you can get an edge in terms of looking at what the best tools for different jobs might be. Also insights in terms of from their experience, how did they do what they do. And then we have two modules from the business school where you you participate in these modules with business school students. One is on information strategy and innovation, which is how is it that you connect your data acquisition with innovation in companies, and then strategic brand management, which is all about how do you build a brand, what makes a brand appealing, and then how do you maintain that brand over time. So you'll notice a very strong focus on work preparation. One of what we're concerned about is developing employees, graduates who are ready to enter business. And that means that we provide high demand skills, that's data analysis, data generation, transversal skills. We work on work-based projects connected to local and national organizations, so you can develop the network that's going to help you to get your job. And we have employers in our steering group who are continually updating our content. But we also do analysis of core work skills. One of the things when we talk to employers say that deficits in skills like working with Word and Excel are actually a bigger drag and more important to them to eliminate than any skills you bring to the job. It doesn't matter if you're really, really good at something if you can't use Microsoft products very well, for example, and because they're in every industry. We then work on CV and interview preparation, and you'll notice that our content is really built for the world of tomorrow. It's cross-cultural, it's focused on climate change, sustainability. We're looking to give you an edge to the world, the industries and the jobs of tomorrow. So what kind of jobs are we talking about? What kind of people? What kind of companies might you work for? Well, here's a look at this range of companies constitute what's called a big data landscape in Ireland. And the data focus of the program is intended to prepare you for a range of industries like the ones you see before you. So this could be, whether you're communicating data to analytics consumers, or whether you're acquiring data as a member of a software or hardware company. This data focus is also, however, more and more important in nonprofit organizations and local government. And many of these organizations have considerable data and very little means to analyze it. So if you're interested in the consumer psychology masters, as I said, this is the first year that will be our first intake in September 2021, then please connect with the Masters in Consumer Psychology talk at 3 p.m. There's links on the NUI Galway Postgraduate Open Day website where you found this talk, and also I'll provide these slides in the chat so that you can click on the Teams link directly. Okay, so if you have any queries, you can pop them in the chat, and I'll go through them. Okay. So, anybody have any questions that they'd like any of the directors to answer? We've got a little bit of time now at the end of the session. So, Anne-Marie, did you get a number of common queries for the higher diploma there? I'll just unmute you there. Anne-Marie, you're muted at the moment if you're speaking.
Hi, Dennis. The most common queries were really, is the port of entry, what are you shortlisted on? You're shortlisted on the basis of your psychology in your third year of the psychology program, and you have to have a second class honour in your other degree subject. And if you're a Connect student, you need to have second class honour in all other 2 subjects. Right. And the other frequent query is, when do we make offers? We wait till all of the current psychological studies final years have completed their degree. So once the formal exam boards are over in summer, we shortlist on the basis then. And we do hold back a number of places for students who've deferred for bona fide reasons, and we keep them in the mix, and we make offers then to the final few students in late August, early September. So it was really around selection. A few queries around the HTIP full. Does past psychology experience count? I'm saying it doesn't in terms of the application process, but very importantly, it does in terms of future life work experience. So when you come back into the field, all of that work experience will stand to you. And very importantly, why there are only 8 places for the programme. Really, accreditation limits us. And part of our accreditation process with PSI, or the Psychological Society of Ireland, is we have to have an optimal staff-student ratio. So this is one of the reasons we have limited numbers being taken on the conversion, 16, and the HTIP full 8 places. So they were the kinds of queries I've been responding to.
That's very useful, Anne-Marie. Some people are asking about which courses require a PSI accredited degree and which don't. Well, today of the 4 master's programs that we talked about today, the Masters in Health is the only one that requires a PSI accredited degree to enter. The Masters in Clinical Neuroscience, the Masters in Consumer Psychology, and the Masters in ABA don't require you to complete a PSI accredited undergraduate degree. That said, you're going to need a subject that's relevant in the eyes of the course director. So, for example, that will depend. So, if you're entering clinical neuroscience, you could enter with pharmacology or anatomy as a subject, but you probably wouldn't enter with marketing as a subject. Similarly, if you're going for consumer psychology, it's much more likely that you would enter with marketing or economics as a background, rather than say pharmacology. Now, we don't have strict limits, so we look at each profile when it comes to looking at whether it's relevant or not. A query there on the number of students from Niamh McElroy in the consumer psychology program. We expect 21 students to enter this year. Okay, Lorena, did you have any queries there that you wanted to bring up?
I was just going to follow up. Some people were just asking questions about specific entry requirements. So generally it is quite a competitive course where we take around 14 to 16 students a year, and successful applicants would have a 2-1 or higher in various different backgrounds. So like Dennis said, it covers psychology, but also science related subjects and data science. So something that can be like data science was an interesting one that came up there in the questions, because obviously a lot of neuroscience now uses very large data sets. So people with the background in informatics or data science can be very applicable for the clinical neuroscience program. And there would be a complete overview and introduction into the biological sciences for those that don't have a biology background. And similarly for those with a science background, there would be an introduction into the psychology related modules. So modules are selected based on undergraduate modules covered.
That's great. That's very useful. Aoife, did you have any interesting queries there?
Sorry, I'm just putting my microphone on here. I think my questions were all related to the entry requirements as well, so mostly covered. Again, it's a competitive course, lots of applicants every year. There's only 20 places available, so generally 2-1 or higher in a related degree. And you don't need to have a denominated or HTIP conversion to enter the course. But if you wish to progress on to become a chartered behavioural psychologist with a PSI, then you will have to do a conversion course. But it's not a requirement to apply for the course. Okay,
so that's great, everyone. I think we've covered everything, and it's 2 o'clock. So I'll bring this to a close. Thanks everyone for your contributions today, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Okay. Stop recording.